the number one goal, raising children can be very challenging. Parenthood does not come with a manual.
No, it doesn't.
All these things that you read out there, have them download Duolingo. Is it called Duolingo?
That one, Duolingo.
Duolingo.
Yeah, and those,
and pay for all these apps.
Yeah.
They really don't work.
Those
what
don't
is
work.
the priority for my children might not be the priority for someone else.
Absolutely.
Like, if you tell me Swahili is a priority in your household, I respect that.
Yeah.
For me, in my household, as long as they can speak with my mother and my mother-in-laws and other older people around them and be able to say hi and borrow water or food in any language, I'm happy. Think that to an extent, that's why immigrant parents like to keep one language to themselves. Let's say I want to tell Gofu something and I don't want the kids to know because it's really something that's not okay for them to hear, then I might switch and speak in my language, knowing very well that they will not comprehend what I just told their dad. And vice versa, he would do the same thing. So yes, that is true.
And to add on that,
yes,
the kids can pick it. Sometimes the kid will see it and they'll be like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And they get upset.
Yeah, and you know what Rehema said was quite interesting. He was like, if she could go back, she'd tell you guys that you're better off speaking to each other in Swahili, which is the language that she never understood, than Kikuyu. You guys used to do it in Kikuyu.
Yes.
And she can hear,
understood it, yes.
She kind of understood everything that you guys were
That
talking
is
about.
so true.
Dynamics. Rehema said that she was actually expressing regret and embarrassment on not being able to speak Kiswahili. She also said that she can pick up some Kikuyu, but still cannot speak it fluently. Now, maybe you can start by telling us, what language do the two of you speak at home when you're on a date, when you're just the two of you without the kids? What language do you guys speak to each other?
You better not lie.
Did you say a date?
A date?
You know how long we've been married?
No, but Kwani people don't go on dates after they are married for...
Which dates? Like, Geda, let's pass by Starbucks.
Wacha hizo story. Yani you're spoiling Gofu's name in front of him. Oh, mulikuja in separate cars.
He's the chauffeur.
I was driving.
So akupeleke kama Ruth and Chris hivi nini places like that.
Separate
where
address.
is Ruth and Chris? Niambie.
I think it had to Italy.
Hiyo hapo I think.
No, lakini you guys have been doing trips to Europe.
Yes.
I mean, Ruth and Chris
so
in Europe is as good as you know.
I see what you got your boy. I see what you do.
No. We are just minding our own business. Then we see people in Greece. Then we see them in Italy. Then siji wako Turin. Siji wako ahi.
Okay.
Yeah. So our primary language at home is. It depends. I feel like it's a mix. It's 50.
No, just when you're
50,
the two of you, to take the kids away, just the two of you.
The two of us. It's still a mix. It's a fair balance. 50% Kikuyu. I'm Kikuyu. Like you said, you're Maasai. Well, you're not, but anyway.
Wow.
Okay.
But I'm
That's
Kikuyu,
okay.
so by default,
Yeah.
Kikuyu is my primary language.
Okay.
Especially when we are home. I have a big family here. I have my sisters, one boy, one Jiro. All these people that surround me, we tend to speak a lot of Kikuyu. But even with Gofu, wouldn't you agree 50-50?
Yeah,
Kikuyu, English.
Kikuyu and English.
Yes.
But does Gofu know Kikuyu? I'm just asking because his cousin OneMic. Sorry. Go on.
Anyway.
So 50-50. So that means Kiswahili doesn't feature.
I don't even know Swahili. I will say that and people on Facebook and YouTube are gonna literally swallow me alive, but I don't know Swahili.
But when you say you don't know Swahili, you mean you did not attend a Kenyan education system?
I did. I actually went to one of the prestigious girls' schools in Kenya.
And they
Kauhia
did,
girls,
and they didn't
to be
do Kiswahili.
precise. We were taught Swahili, but
Yeah.
you have to understand, I'm from Muranga. I grew up in the village. I'm a very proud village girl. I went from standard 1 to grade 8, I went to a village school. So it was primarily Kikuyu. That's our language. That's our
they
mother
taught,
tongue.
but they taught Swahili.
No,
in
they
that
taught
school.
they taught Swahili and Kikuyu.
They didn't really teach the Swahili that people speak, the Swahili
It's the
sanifu.
shame.
I
Okay.
know, like, nipatie maji.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really gossip about me. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But then also, we both came here when we were very young.
Okay.
Like I was 19.
Okay.
And I kind of stopped speaking Swahili then.
Okay.
So I don't know Swahili. I don't
Okay.
speak Swahili at home.
So if you had to save your life, and you had to speak Swahili for 30 minutes continuously
She'd be dead.
about your business, you want to present about your business and talk to us about your business, and if we don't do that, we kill you. So you would be dead.
She'd be dead. Mashakura ilikuwa hivyo
Ah.
na
At
alafu.
least you do the best you can.
I think Gofu would come in and rescue me, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
most
he
likely.
would.
Okay, so fair enough. So when the two of you are talking, it's 50-50
Yeah.
English
Yes.
and Kiswahili. So
Kikuyu.
what about English and Kikuyu, sorry. So what language did you start speaking to your kids when Isaac when he could start speaking? What was the first language that I'll start with you and then we're gonna come to Baba Rehema.
Again, I want to say the same, 50-50, Kikuyu and English. As a matter of fact, Isaac, and I actually told him that the other day, until he went to college, he literally could understand anything you say to him in Kikuyu. He understood everything.
Okay.
And then he went to college and kind of didn't, he's not home all the time, so he has forgotten a lot of Kikuyu. But we introduced them to Kikuyu and English.
Okay, Kikuyu and English. So, Baba Hanya, was there any, was this consciously in your mind? Like go back to when maybe Isaac was 1 or 2 years old. And by the time you gave birth, by the time Ginda gave birth to Rehema, was this something that was consciously in your mind that I want my children to be able to speak Kikuyu?
No, I mean, I think, when you come here,
Yeah.
we are so caught up. We are so caught up, and
Yeah.
we don't really realize sometimes the impact. I was so surprised when my daughter was saying that the language issue is a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you meet with your family members, we are talking, we are we are just being ourselves,
Yeah.
and the kids are around us. So it was for me, it was a moment.
So you didn't realize that was important to them.
But as they get older,
Yeah.
then you start, when they're little, like, they're not talking.
Yeah.
So you're okay. You can speak Swahili, Kikuyu, your native language. But as they get older, now you start realizing the gap.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a lot of us, we're just comfortable with our culture.
Yeah.
And we subconsciously neglect the kids. A lot of African parents don't do it intentionally. We just busy with
It just
our lives.
happens.
We
Yeah.
are going to work. We are moving on. We are doing our thing.
Yeah.
But the kids are here. So is a tricky balance.
Okay.
Very tricky.
Let me say this. At some point, when we were a small hegemony, even amongst our friends, these two are the first to really establish, they have a relationship, they're getting a family.
Yeah.
Even the baby shower, what we call them baby shower, because we're fascinated.
Yeah.
Because we were in our mid-20s.
Yeah. Living
The baby
life.
shower was the highlight.
Yeah.
Geda, it's okay. I understand.
Actually, early 20s, not mid.
Early 20s.
Early
Very
20s.
young.
Oh, so they
Sawa.
started
We were
early.
very, very
Yeah,
young.
So they knew what they wanted
In
in
fact,
life.
the baby shower was 2
when-
days.
When I say me, I mean,
Yeah.
so early 20s, mid 20s.
It is
But
early
it was a huge thing.
Yeah.
We're like, guy, and si wameamua yani watapata watoi.
Mm-hmm.
You see, at that point in time, you're not thinking
Mm-hmm.
ati
The
watoi wakigrow,
language, yeah.
thinking language,
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't something
Yeah.
conscious.
No.
My challenges are,
Yeah.
hey, I don't have my mother here. Hatuna ndacha mtoto nani. No, you're thinking now, not, I'm going to say daycare, babysitting. How are you going to coordinate this? How are you going to restructure? Because now, when the baby is coming, you have to restructure your life.
Yes.
Back then, I'm talking about back then. We're talking about
Yeah.
2001
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
when Kenya was born. He was born, but in 2000. So you're thinking and restructuring.
2001.
2001.
Yeah.
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 He was born in February, so 2000.
So,
so-
okay.
Can you
No,
two,
no,
can you two
me.
fight outside?
So, so anyway, that's my sister. Anyway, so the what you're thinking about at that point in time is, okay, how are we gonna coordinate this? Because you're not really formally you have jobo nzuri.
Yeah.
You're just hustling. You're coming in. You're trying to get your feet wet. You're trying to understand the system. You're dealing with my
Also,
challenges.
you were
So,
in school. We
you're,
were
you're
in school. We
So-
were both
and then on top of that,
college
you're in school.
students,
Yeah.
full-time job, full-time parenting.
Yes.
So you're not really thinking. The priority was never the language.
It's never
fair
one of
enough.
those.
Yeah.
Oh, fair
It's not.
enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Language
Yeah.
that language now becomes
When they're old.
when they're older,
Secondary,
like
yeah.
like when they are like now, like
Yeah.
when Kenya is about 11, 12, 13.
And he's sitting there with
He's
you
sitting
guys.
there
and
with,
you realize, okay, the kid is not participating.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair assessment. You know, like
Yeah.
when you're having a child at age 19, 20, 21. The priority, of course, at that point, you're thinking there's very important things you're thinking about. You're not thinking of what language will this kid speak.
Right.
And you know, even back home subconsciously, that's not something parents used to think about, because a kid would just automatically speak the language that the people around him
Are speaking.
are speaking.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I think that it wasn't a thing that was there that we need to think about this.
Exactly.
This is something that came up later, because at that particular time also the Kenyan population was still smaller. We did not have a big population of kids who are born and grown up here. Later on is when people started seeing, you know, like kids who are born and grown up here are not speaking the language. Then some other parents came up with the idea of maybe I should start teaching my child, because it was a learning curve at that
Right.
particular time. So it wasn't actually quite a big priority. But it's very interesting when we're having conversations with Rehema and Jide. I was surprised, you know, that they were actually interested, you know, like they're saying, going back, they wish they had learned more of their language. Because my thinking when I came here and I saw a lot of kids who've grown up here not necessarily speaking Swahili or any of their mother tongue, my thinking was that they're American, they're not interested, they're just happy to be speaking English. But it's very interesting when they come and tell you that they actually had an interest and have an interest in wanting to know that language. And I think these things come up as they grow up and as they get to interact with more kids. They go to college, they meet kids who are speaking
both languages,
different languages.
Yeah.
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 Because
Yeah.
at that point
Yeah.
in time, when when like I said, when you're trying to sort out, let's say for example, who's gonna Gofu, do you have time? Are you working today? I need Kenya to be picked up, or I need to be Rehema
Right.
to be picked up, or I need somebody to be taken somewhere or whatever. At that juncture, at that point in time,
Yeah.
the farthest thing from your mind
Is
is
language.
language.
Wow.
I know. And,
Yeah.
and
No,
fair
I
enough.
get it.
Yeah,
and
fair
and,
enough.
and also at that point in time, like I said, you know, they were not the only ones, but they were among the very few,
Yeah.
and I'll count them in one hand, who've got a child.
Yeah.
So even me at 25, I'm an uncle, but I'm like, Allah, wait a minute, what in the hell am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you know, and those are the challenges. And now, imagine now you've been ushered in that. Mom is not here, the village is not here, her folks are not here. How do you manage these challenges? And most of the guys that you're hanging out with, ni wasewa kadunda,
Right.
mtoye mekam.
Yeah.
How are you now going to adjust your life to go and hang out? So Gofu decides, let me go Kadunda to DC. And arudi 5 a.m. Geda has been up all night with I love saying
Yeah.
the domestics. And those are the challenges.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we were getting.
One mic, you learn rather quickly that you have to adapt.
Yeah, no, yes,
So
that's what I'm
now
saying.
you're a young parent. The other people surrounding you, they're all single young women. For me, in my case, they don't
Yeah.
have kids. They're not the ones that I'm gonna call and say, "Hey, so and so come babysit for me, because they have no idea how to babysit. They don't know the challenges you're going through.
Wow, that is so interesting.
Yes.
Exactly. So you learn to find your own support, your little village. You create your little village. Like when Kehanya and even Rehema to an extent, when they were little, we had our own little village with someone like Stella.
Stella Marine, yes.
Yeah, Kenya's mom, because
Goyo.
Stella had a little girl who was
Alice.
Kehanya's age. And so that was what we did. We had to learn quickly. Let's create our own little village where we can all help one another, go to school, babysit each other's kids, work doubles. And mind you, even then, at the back of our mind, we were still trying to buy these, bloody.
And by the way, before Kenya was born, let me tell you, my brother here was seeing dust. Because this woman just used to crunch ice from Royal Family.
But there's something else I need to point out.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, okay, you have people who are helping you to raise your child. As young parents, you also have to sit down and structure your life. Because, as I said, parenting is fun, but you also have challenges. A lot of us, when we came here, we were young. There were not many. And also there was no networking, no social media, no cell phones.
Yes.
Believe that there were no cell phones.
There were no cell phones.
Oh, damn.
No, there were no cell phones. Just landlines.
By the time I came to State Road, there were already cell
There were
phones.
pages and beepers.
It sounds.
I came in 2003.
Oh, well, you are. It sounds like
Pages and
late
beepers.
90s, there were no cell phones in America.
Oh, damn. Okay.
In the US. So, for me to tell him that he need to come to my house, either I call his house, page him, or drive there.
Wow. Okay.
That's in America. I'm talking about late 90s.
Yeah.
So, it's,
and early 2000s.
Yeah, looking at how things are now compared to then is totally different, because even a child have access to social media.
Yes.
So I know we're going to talk about bullying, but just to say the information system, how information is being delivered now, is also helping the kids to know things. Most kids also didn't know that bullying was not okay.
Yeah.
Now they can read and their own and
they can understand
things.
Yeah. Okay. These are actually very good perspectives that you're bringing in, because sometimes looking from the outside, it's easy to judge and it's easy to say
it is
X, Y, Z, and that's why it's good to have these conversations for people to understand this is where things were at that particular time, and the priorities were very different. A very interesting question coming from Annette Karanja. Annette Karanja, one of the cohorts of kids who are raised out here in Baltimore. Annette says, "Hey friends, can we address using Swahili Kikuyu as a secret language to discuss things without the kids understanding? Was that a factor for this family?" So, Annette Nginda, let me come to you.
It was. I will say I was there. I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
Let Nginda speak for herself.
Well, Annette, kwani you wanna air our dirty laundry out there? But yes. To answer you, I think that to an extent, that's why immigrant parents like to keep one language to themselves. Let's say I want to tell Gofu something and I don't want the kids to know, because it's really something that's not okay for them to hear. Then I might switch and speak in my language, knowing very well that they will not comprehend what I just told their dad. And vice versa, he will do the same thing. So yes, that is true.
And to add on that,
yes,
the kids can pick it. Sometimes the kid will see it and they'll be like, "I know what you're doing."
Yeah.
And they get upset.
Yeah, and you know what Rehema said was quite interesting. He was like, if she could go back, she'd tell you guys that you're better off speaking to each other in Swahili, which is the language that she never understood, than Kikuyu. You guys used to do it in Kikuyu.
Yes.
And she
kind of
can hear,
understood it, yes.
She kind of understood everything that you guys were
That
talking
is
about.
so true. We hear that a lot from Rehema and Kehanya. They always say, "I already know what you told dad." And like Kehanya will be like, "Mom, I already know what you just told dad."
But you can speak Swahili, she don't know.
Is it that she doesn't know, or she's not comfortable speaking?
Hawezi nyita. Hawezi nyita.
I don't know. I really don't.
I think it's more of discomfort, because I mean, if you've lived in Kenya,
she does
umesoma
speak.
mpaka form 4, at least you'll be able to hear. If we sit
No,
here
she does
speaking
speak it.
Swa,
She just
you'll be able. Yeah.
Maybe it's comfort.
I understand.
Yeah.
I completely understand. I can speak a little Swahili. What I'm trying to say is I can't really have a fluent conversation in Swahili.
Okay.
Practice makes perfect.
Okay. Practice.
See,
We're gonna start
Ujaribu tu
practicing.
kidogo.
Kujaribu
Or you want me to
tu.
switch
Yeah.
to my
We are
Pwani
gonna start
accent?
practicing. Then the next episode, we are gonna do it in
but
Kiswahili.
I don't even find it essential though. Who do I need to speak fluently in
now,
Swahili?
that's where
it's not essential for me.
That's where we'll disagree.
Hapo ndio pale kuna
That's why we'll
changamoto.
disagree.
I know
Yes.
we will,
Yeah.
Ali. I know.
And I'll say it's a very essential language, especially I think for kids who are growing up in the diaspora. If you're trying to connect them to an African language, they are more likely to get into contact with people who speak Kiswahili than they are to get into contact with people who are speaking,
French.
no, not necessarily French, but the ethnic language, the ethnic language that you're speaking, meaning that with Swahili, there are Kenyans, there are Tanzanians, there are people from Congo, like they have better chances of being out there and practicing it.
I get it, and
Yeah.
I acknowledge that, but I think for me, I think the most important thing was for us to make sure that the kids, especially the older two, and now Zoe, the Rehema Kihanya, they know the importance of embracing both cultures.
Yeah.
Because for me, which might come as a surprise, for me, I have always said to my kids, you're American first. Because they're Americans and they're secondarily Kenyans.
Yeah.
So they have to be able to embrace both cultures. They have to be able to say to their fellow, if they meet somebody new, somebody might say, where are you guys from? They will say, yeah, my parents are from Kenya.
Yeah.
That's what our kids say. They don't say, I'm Kenyan. They say, our parents are from Kenya.
Okay.
That's not just Kihanya or Rehema. That's universally all the kids I've ever met, interacted with. In my house, we always have a lot of kids from Nigeria and other countries. I will say, where are you guys from? And they always say, oh, my mom or my parents are from Nigeria. My parents are from Jamaica. I never hear them say, hey, I am from Jamaica.
Yeah, but here's a challenge, that I would give to parents and maybe prospective parents. I think, what sometimes might be missing is sometimes maybe parents don't know the method that needs to be used. If of course you have intent, because the most important thing is a parent has to have intent that I want my child to grow up understanding this language. If the intent is there, there's a method. The people who have it the easiest are parents, of course, who can't speak English. That's why you see, like in Spanish families, because the parents already cannot speak English. So automatically, the kids will grow up understanding Spanish because that's the only language that the parents can communicate to them in. So now we are not in that situation, because with Kenyans, most Kenyans, like all Kenyans who come here pretty much are very fluent English speakers. But then there is a method of doing this. It has to be very deliberate. And as I say sometimes, this is a privilege, because of course if you're in that situation where you're in your early 20s, there are so many other priorities you have. There's no time to focus on whether my child is understanding this language. There's a tried and tested method, and I know this from within our extended family. Most of our kids who are born here, they've ended up speaking Swahili apart from one or two, and we know exactly what happened. So we have a control experiment of what wasn't done and why this one or two can only understand, but they cannot necessarily articulate it. And I've said that's one of the things that I want to do. I want to write a small pamphlet. It's a very simple process. As long as you respect that process, you follow that process, your child will understand the language. And once your child understands the language, when your child is the youngest, that's the easiest time to train them in a language. There's usually a worry that, oh my goodness, if I start early, when they go to school, they may lag behind on English. That is not true.
Yeah, that's not true.
That's not true.
Kids will pick any language.
They will pick up the language,
But I want to say it also has to be the parents' priority.
Yes.
I don't necessarily feel that as Gofu's household, our priority is the kids learning Swahili. It's good if they knew Swahili, but it's not a priority for me, for Gofu.
But I'm saying not necessarily Swahili. I'm just saying any language that you want your kids to learn, even if it's
any
Kikuyu.
language. I agree.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I really feel like the number one goal, raising children, can be very challenging. Parenthood does not come with a manual.
No, it
No, it
doesn't.
doesn't.
All these things that you read out there, have them download Duolingo. Is it called Duolingo?
That one, Duolingo.
Duolingo.
Yeah, and those,
and pay for all these apps.
Yeah.
They really don't work.
Those
What
don't
is the
work.
priority for my children might not be the priority for someone else.
Absolutely.
Like, if you tell me Swahili is a priority in your household, I respect that.
Yeah.
For me, in my household, as long as they can speak with my mother and my mother-in-laws and other older people around them and be able to say hi and borrow water or food in any language, I'm happy.
But the reason why I bring it up is because they're the ones who brought it up.
And I challenge Rehema.
They're the ones who brought it up.
And I challenge my daughter who's
I
tuned
was
in.
also in this school.
I know.
They don't care about it.
Okay.
But
And
they're
I
the
know
ones
they
who brought it
care,
up.
but
Yeah.
I've challenged Rehema who's tuned in and Kihanya.
Oh, by the way, she's saying
My own brother learned Dutch when he was in his 40s. Well, 40s or 30s.
50.
Not 50.
35.
Where?
35,
Maybe he was 35. He
Leave
had to
my
move
brother
to another
Kimadu from out
country
of this.
And had to learn their language. So I always challenge my kids and say, if you truly want to learn Swahili or French or Italian, you can do it.
By the way,
They are in the best country on earth
Rehema
with
is
all
saying-
the resources.
whenever you guys are speaking, when you're code switching, Rehema is saying, yes, we always knew.
Well, Ali, I wanted to
Yes,
say something.
Rehema.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think also the culture. When we come here, we were brought up in a certain way. So when we come here and we are young parents, we want to bring our kids, but we think about how we were brought up. How we were brought up. So it turns out sometimes you're thinking about your parents. How was I brought up?
Yeah.
Here, but you're brought up in another country, in a complete different culture.
Yes.
And it just turns out sometime I'm thinking about my parents. How was I brought up? And I'm trying to
Copy paste.
And it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. As my wife said, children are different. My kids have different personalities. Every
I know
child,
that.
Every child is different.
Yeah.
How you brought up one child is not the exact same way you gonna.
And that, by the way, that is standard.
standard, right?
That is standard.
That's true.
right.
How Aiden was
Right.
is different from Jerry,
Right.
Yeah.
different from Nemo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's almost when you come here, you have to really think, what does an American child want?
What are their needs?
What are their needs?
Yeah.
Because we are not in Kenya.
No, and
Yeah.
you cannot enforce. I've seen this thing where parents try to enforce our standards, but you can offer. In my wife and me and my wife, we talk about this. We have given our kids all the tools. Where we come from, our culture, language, food, music. We can only teach them. I cannot force them to be. Remember, 80% of their time they are where?
They're in school.
I'm wondering with my children, very few. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's almost. And there's another thing. Our children sometimes feel like when we say they need to be African, it's like we're telling them, is their American side not good enough?
Yeah.
It's a very tricky balance.
Yeah.
I've talked to some kids and they tell me, hey, when you guys say that, we need to learn Kikuyu, we need to know Mugithi, we need to eat Mukimo, sijui nyama choma. It's all good, but what about our burgers?
Yeah.
You see?
Okay.
So you have to balance, and it's a very tricky balance.
And to buttress his point, like it's one of those. You learn again. It's a learning process as you grow because it's a learning curve because you start seeing as the kids grow, they start getting their own personalities.
Yeah.
You look at Kehanya like okay. When you look at Rehema, you're like, these two are different. Okay,
Right.
this one doesn't like this one likes this. It's a matter of adjusting.
Right.
Yeah.